Greetings. Welcome to our REDSHORT webinar for this Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. My name is J.D. Thomason. I'm an analyst with Red Sky Alliance, and today I'll be walking you through a short discussion of a recently leaked version of the TSA's no-fly list from 2019 and the hacker responsible for the leak, Crimew. As always, you can find information on related topics at redskyalliance.org. So, here is the agenda for today. We'll begin by going over exactly what has been leaked. There were many data sets that were up for grabs, up to and including the personal information of Crimew employees who are the maintainers of the server in which the data was stored. Thus, the term no-fly list doesn't necessarily cover everything, so we will clarify the nature of the leak as much as possible. Next, we'll move on to describing how this data became available. As it turns out, the person who is apparently responsible for this leak, a hacker going by the name of Maia Arson Crimew, has described her process for obtaining this data in a recent blog post entitled How to Completely Own an Airline in 3 Easy Steps. Lastly, we will give a brief overview on Crimew, who has been building a reputation for leaking data and source code, along with allegedly carrying out a number of hacks in the last few years. On January 26, 2023, 2 lists named No-Fly and Selectee were posted on the publicly accessible breach forums. These lists contain approximately 1.5 million records and 250,000 records respectively. The data included in the lists gives a name and a date of birth. After some verification, these files were confirmed to be identical to a no-fly and selectee list that were discovered on a misconfigured server by a Swiss hacker named Maia Arson Crimew. The exposed data was first located and reported on January 19th, after writers at Daily Dot were in contact with Crimew. The data originated from an overexposed server that was managed by U.S. airline Crimew. The larger of the 2 lists, No-Fly, contained in excess of 1.5 million records, though that number in and of itself is slightly misleading since the data did contain aliases and duplicates. The second list, named Selectee, appears to contain information on individuals flagged for a secondary security screening process at airports. Crimew confirmed in a statement that the data in question was uploaded to the server Crimew accessed in July of 2022. The data is said to be 2019 versions of the no-fly and selectee lists, and that they were being used for testing compliance processes. They also confirmed that a database was accessed which contained personal information of Crimew employees. The server in question has since been taken down, and Crimew reports that no customer data was exposed during this event. So the acquisition began after Crimew discovered an exposed Jenkins server that belonged to Crimew. Jenkins is a popular open source automation project that is used for software building, testing, and deployment. This exposure provided access to a number of build workspaces and repositories for a large number of projects. 2 projects within this server that were named No-Fly Comparison and No-Fly Comparison 2 were found to contain hard-coded AWS credentials, along with S3 bucket names and DynamoDB endpoints. The credentials that were found provided substantial access to the AWS infrastructure via the AWS command line interface. There are snapshots of the various types of information available from Crimew over here on the right. Along with the AWS credentials, bucket names, and endpoints was the test data that we mentioned previously. 3 CSV files were found, namely employee information.csv, no-fly.csv, and selectee.csv. Agreeing with the statement earlier from Crimew, these files appeared to be committed to the repository in July of 2022. Unfortunately, the credentials and test data were not the only things that were exposed at this point. Crimew asserts to have also had full access to employee data, such as full names, addresses, phone numbers, passport numbers, pilot license numbers, etc. She states that she also had access to trip sheets for every flight, flight plans, plane maintenance data, and more. So, who is Maia Arson Crimew? Crimew is a Swiss software developer slash hacker who was born August 7th, 1999, making her 23 years old. She states on her blog that she is currently unemployed and she accepts donations via Ko-fi. Maia Arson Crimew appears to be her primary persona these days. However, she is often simply referred to as Crimew. In addition, she has a few other aliases, such as Tilly Cotman, DeleteScape, and Anti-Proprietary. She is most often associated with data or source code leaks, such as the no-fly leak, a large dump of Intel source code and proprietary data from 2020, and a large Nissan source code leak from 2021. She was also credited as the originator of the Nintendo Giga leak in 2020 by Bleeping Computer, but she later corrected them, stating that she was not the originator. Crimew has also experienced some legal trouble. In March of 2021, she was indicted on charges that were related to various hacking incidents that took place between 2019 and 2021. The DOJ alleges that she and several co-conspirators, quote, hacked dozens of companies and government entities and posted the private victim data of more than 100 entities on the web. The outcome of this case appears to still be pending. So, let us wrap up. We went over a little bit about the recently leaked no-fly list from 2019. The two data sets that were focused on were a no-fly list containing an approximate 1.5 million records and a selectee list containing an approximate 250,000 records. Included in these records were individuals' names along with the date of birth. We then discussed where this data came from and how it was obtained. The data originated from a server maintained by Commute Air, a U.S. airline, and the leaked data was uploaded to this server in July of 2022. The data was purportedly being used for testing. Crimew was able to access this server via an exposed Jenkins server, which allowed her access to a number of things like build projects and repositories, in addition to a set of AWS credentials and endpoint information. Maia Arson Crimew is a 23-year-old Swiss hacker who has been involved in a number of incidents, particularly those involving data or source code leaks. In addition to this new no-fly leak, she has been involved in source code leaks from Intel and Nissan and hacking incidents involving dozens of different entities. These hacking endeavors resulted in her being indicted by a grand jury in the United States of March of 2021. And with that, we have reached the end. And that is all for today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the material and found it useful. If you have any further questions on the subject, you can contact us via Jim McKee at jmckee@redskyalliance.com. As always, you can find information on related topics at redskyalliance.org. Have a nice day, and we hope to see you again next week.